Two, one. Hi everyone. I'm here with Naomi Baily from Social Talent. Naomi, welcome to the Skills for Mars podcast.
Thank you for having me, Julia. Happy to be here.
I'm very glad. I think we've been planning this for quite some time right now. We've been going back and forth, and finally we are here.
Absolutely. I know, a lot going on in September, but October seemed to be the right time for us to meet. It was destiny.
It's a new year, right? It's a new financial year for Social Talent.
It's a new quarter.
It's a new quarter. Okay. You
Yeah.
never know when companies start and finish their financial years. It's always a bit of a mess, I feel.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really keen to. I was really keen to have you here because as we've been talking, online education and education in general, I think, and I think everyone would agree, and you would agree with me as well, that is really key for the future, right? Learning in general is key for the future. Education and online, running it online, I think it makes it easier and more available to people wherever they are. So I was really keen to have you here. And we've known each other for quite some time, and I've always been a big Social Talent fan. First, I started because the content was the right one, and I'm a recruiter at heart, so it would really help me as a recruiter. But then I started to love the platform. And I was a user both as a recruiter and as a manager. So I've seen some of the capabilities, and I started to love the platform. So that's why I really wanted to talk to you about not only the content, right, of what Social Talent and the niche that you are covering in education, but actually the platform and how it works and how it helps people learn better.
Right. Absolutely. And that is kind of where our niche is, I believe. We're a big fan here in terms of it's not about pushing the learning onto our learners. It's about building the mechanics of learning around how they consciously or subconsciously want to learn. And I think that kind of drives how we deliver it here at Social Talent, to make sure it's not just educating, but kind of inspiring and encouraging engagement as we go along the process.
Which is what surprised me as well, right? Because most of the online education platforms, you go online, you take a course, and maybe you get a badge. But I feel it's so much more with Social Talent, and I would like everyone to find out about it. Why not? But before we go there, just a bit of an introduction. Would you be okay to introduce yourself and how you started in online education?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. So, well, it all began when I finished my degree in marketing. And then it took a step away from marketing, and I never looked back at it again, really, in that I came into Social Talent 5 years ago and came in actually a customer support role, for a technical role. And through it, was answering certain questions on how people could reset their login details, but then kind of went to looking at, okay, what problems are kind of reoccurring, and looking into how people were actually engaging with the platform as well. What were they loving? What did they not like so much? Which kind of led to me working in Social Talent as a customer success manager, to actually motivate good behaviors and try to eradicate any kind of behaviors that were, or any problems within the platform that were making people step away from the learning we were delivering. And so from that, I built out the customer success management team. And that is really crucial to the learning experience that we talk about. Having a partnership with our customers when it comes to e-learning is important. So we built out that customer success management team to hold our learners' hands, our managers' hands, in terms of enabling their teams, and kind of go from there. And 5 years later, I'm now a relationship manager for our enterprise customers. So I work with them to partner up and deliver a customized learning experience based on their organizational goals, their business needs, and not just, the training we give to them and say, this is what's best for you and your team. We actually work with them on them telling us what they need and then aligning that to the solution. So that's kind of my very long, brief timeline for my time in Social Talent, and why I'm here and still kind of believing in what we're doing. And so I guess from there, I'll introduce Social Talent. We are the world's leading source of hiring insights and training. We deliver customized learning based on whichever role you hold within the organization, and work with forward-thinking organizations to build the knowledge and the skills they need to hire and develop the best talent within the business. And how we do this really is by providing a hybrid learning platform that combines kind of the best of flexible LXP features with an enterprise-ready LMS system. So we have kind of unrivaled, and I don't say that lightly, premium content of library of content, which has experts in the areas of hiring, interviewing, D&I, leadership training. And then we work to get that platform, that content integrated quite seamlessly into organizations' infrastructure, to help embed the platform in their businesses and help it be native so that it kind of fits in exactly to what they're already doing as an organization, to help with the element of making it as engaging as possible. And that's kind of what we do in a quick pitch, along with much more, which I imagine we'll expand on throughout the podcast.
Definitely. I was kind of curious because since I got on Social Talent, I've never looked for any other online education resource for talent acquisition, right? Not for my teams, not for myself. It was just everything was there. Do you have any competition, like real competition?
Not in the space of hiring. We would have some kind of, our direct competitors that we would look at would be more along the lines of maybe LinkedIn Learning, because people would take that on board and launch it to the entire organization. But for the hiring specific, well, if we were to talk about maybe Recruitment Juice, they're one of, they are a name that we've come up against before. But ultimately, we kind of stand alone because of the platform aspect of it and the content combined. So we are standalone in that regard. Would you think of anything at all that would kind of come up against social?
No, I thought about LinkedIn, but to quote one of my friends in Oracle, the training on how to use LinkedIn is better on Social Talent than it is on LinkedIn. So no, I didn't, but I didn't really look because again, it was the one go source for me and for everyone else I knew.
Yeah,
it's kind of easy because you have the sourcing tools and everything there. So it just makes your life easy.
Yeah, and I think that comes from our kind of we were actually recently, we were talking about who are we, what are our pillars, our brands, and why are we in the place that we are at the moment. And we looked to kind of break out the three pillars that we stood to when we built our content and our platform and our customer base. And we kind of came up with three areas that do make us stand out a little bit, or call us challengers, shall we say, or disruptors in the market. And I think we started with the fact that we are challengers. We like to believe that we're shaking up the industry around enabling hiring teams. People necessarily don't always just focus on enabling their hiring teams. It's, wouldn't have enabled them as much as so before. So we started to introduce that concept to organizations, and we wanted to challenge the normal or the status quo, always looking for better. And that's kind of what sets Social Talent and our platform apart from the rest, or what will be perceived to be competition. It's new, it's vibrant, it's different. We're quite proud to be different and proud to be the first to do this as well. We don't dilute our content by trying to give other kind of pathways of learning to different departments. Now, we will get there in the future as we augment our team, but right now our blood, sweat, and tears goes into the TA and hiring teams that we work with. And I guess from there, ultimately we are educators. We're not just an e-learning platform. It's in the heart. Education is in the heart of everything that we do. We want to be part of the world that never stops learning, Ilya. We educate people through the platform.
That's so good to hear, especially in recruitment.
Yeah, and it's about understanding what people need as well based on their role. A lot of e-learning platforms will just give you a robust library and there you go, find what you need, but it's customized based on all of the different roles within TA and recruitment as well. So whether you're a sourcer resourcer or a 360 recruiter or a recruitment coordinator, there's something for you and something to help you progress into your next role. Yeah.
Yeah. So I checked your website, of course. I was preparing for this, so I checked your website. And then there was one tagline that I said, oh, this is really a fit, but I'm really curious to find out what's behind this tagline. And I think it's the first tagline when you go on the resources page. And then it says, we're writing the future of work.
We're writing the future of
We're
work.
writing the future of work. And then it had very, very little explanation about on it, right? So I wanted to ask you, hey, what's new? What is this about? What are you doing new and is
Uh,
related to the future of work?
So, well, there's kind of two things there. If we were to start with the future of work, particularly within obviously the recruitment and TA space, we want to look into what the recruitment industry will look like in 10 years' time, and develop the skill set that each and every person within a TA team would need to stay on top and stay in the game. So, I know that a lot of people talk to the point of whether TA will be a job or a function in the future. Like, I don't think if it's a question if it will be a job in the future. It's about how you can develop the skills that matter most in the TA world of the future, and how can you as a member of a talent acquisition team stay relevant, remain useful, and develop the right skills at the right time to overcome any technological advancements that we're all scared of. And I guess that's what that tagline means. When we look back at like recruitment in the 90s, and you might agree here, it wasn't even really seen as a professional job in some parts. It was kind of seen as a bit of a salesperson's role to a certain degree. But since it's grown up, it's become more of a profession. You have people who have skills and expertise, or people who leave college wanting to get into recruitment. And we're
That
working.
is new. Usually it was, hey, how do you get to do this? Yeah, I just heard there's a job in this. I wanted to make some money, and here I am.
Right,
I tried my
exactly.
luck, and here I am, a recruiter.
Yeah, people are starting to really look to get into it now. It's becoming that profession, and that's why we want to stick with and develop the skills for the future of recruitment as well. But I think it's important for everyone to understand, what that looks like in 5 to 10 years time. And, I think that people are suspicious about the future when it comes to recruitment. And
I'm one of those.
yeah, you're one of those.
I'm one of those. I can easily see how. So if my view is that if we keep doing what we are doing and going on intuition more than learning how to really run interview and understand people, understand who would be a fit for the job, who would be a fit for the team, who would be a fit for the company, and we just go on intuition, then at some point algorithms would surpass us because they would be just better. They would make an informed decision versus us making an uninformed decision, right? So our error rate would be higher than the one of an algorithm. So I feel that if we stay the same, if we stay where we are as recruiters, then yes, at some point algorithms would take over. And yes, right now it's not so easy, right? And face recognition and gesture recognition and all of that, they're not perfect, and there's research that says that actually it's not even close to perfect, but it will get better because everything we do is filmed and it's on camera, so we have a lot of data to feed algorithms. So at some point, just based on this, based on personality, based on cognitive ability assessments and all of the others, we can make more informed decisions than just come on. Sometimes I mean I'm going in interviews and you have two questions, and then if the guy went to the same school as the hiring manager and or they like each other, they like the same football team, then the guy is hired, right? They have a good conversation and it's just intuition. So if we keep doing that, yes, I can easily see how we can be replaced by algorithms.
It's every recruiter's worst nightmare, really, isn't it? I know, John. Get him in here. It's fine. He's a great guy.
Exactly.
He doesn't fit into my requirement, though, but he fits into mine.
Yes.
John, get in here. I know.
And it's a thing with referrals as well, right? Because it's someone who you know, and then your boss trusts you and you recommend someone. And if you don't really do the due diligence to really understand if that person is a fit, right? Not only for the job, but for the team and for the company, and for how long, and do they have potential or not? And if you're not doing it in a disciplined and planned and structured and educated way,
Yeah.
algorithms can beat us. So as we
Yeah.
got to this topic, how do you feel about it? Because you're closer to recruiters and educating them than I am, definitely. You're educating tens of thousands of recruiters.
Yeah, and we should definitely get to the point back on that though, because hiring is a team sport, and I think that's something that needs to start becoming more prevalent. So I'd like to talk to that point again in a while. But in terms of the future, why we're kind of enabling the future and trying to future-proof the workplace skills for recruiters is that, you know, very much so in with the birth of automation, AI, machine learning, technology, you know, the role of the recruiter will definitely change, and the skills and knowledge you need to have to do the job will change as well. So what we kind of do here to look at what is the kind of skill set now that you have within a workforce, what will be important in 5 years, we kind of broke that down. Well, McKinsey broke it down for us. We then built it into a strategic kind of content roadmap, where we kind of look at automation and AI. It will accelerate the shift in skills in the workplace needs, okay? With every major revolution, I think, in terms of technology or innovation, it's driven a quick shift in any workplace skills. But the difference today is that the pace is happening a lot quicker than it's ever happened before. And this is where people like yourself become suspicious and a little bit kind of not scared necessarily, but definitely looking to try to predict the future, so not to be kind of taken out by it. But we looked into the McKinsey Global Institute of Research for Information on this, and they published a model where they proposed kind of 5 main buckets for skill types required today. So the first that you see, and which we'll agree to be most prevalent, is like physical and manual skills. You know, that's just the way it is. Majority of jobs today require that. And it's not specific to recruitment, but I'll get there. But then you have, you know, basic cognitive skills, higher cognitive skills, social and emotional skills, and technological skills. You know, how do you get on top of those? You know, the introduction of technology, I agree there are areas where it can take on, but it's still a human process. So the aspect of higher cognitive skills and social and emotional is still important and play that part. You know, we talk to a lot in terms of our content roadmap on how do we further invest effort into these particular buckets. So we might see the piece around higher cognitive skills. Sorry, I lost my trail of thought there. Let me take it back a second. When you look at the basic cognitive skills of a recruiter in terms of what you're currently responsible for, something that there will be a decline in because this will be taken over by technology. It's where you're responsible for job posting, candidate sourcing, first level screening, interviewing coordination, rejecting candidates, etc. This will all be automated, and I think we're all come to terms with that. You know, the tools exist today to replace them, to replace these activities. So, you know, we think investing in training for these things isn't future proofing. While a lot of teams for sure need it today, absolutely, we still train on that. We don't believe that there's worth in investing any more training in that in the future. So we look instead to the 3 buckets around higher cognitive skills, which we do a fair bit of things already, like things like drafting job descriptions, doing the intake meetings with hiring managers, compiling shortlists, candidate prep for interviewing, negotiation, etc. All higher cognitive skills. It's something we want to focus on, and we'll lead into what that means. Or then when you're looking at candidate and hiring manager preparation, a lot of social and emotional skills in there as well in terms of the recruitment process. Also in play is the coaching, offering, negotiation. All of that is to do with social and emotional skills. And that's what we want to develop to kind of stay ahead. And how we look to these and how we play into these different skill sets to future-proof your role as a recruiter is by starting with the higher cognitive. You know, we think in addition to the ones that we use today already, we'll introduce more training around creativity, critical thinking, decision-making skills, complex information process. Some things that you mentioned today, actually having processes around that instead of just using intuition and then allowing AI to just come in and and take over from us. But also higher cognitive skills when it comes to hiring strategies, strategic sourcing, stuff that teams are doing already today, but stuff that people can still develop on.
True.
And then you have the kind of social and emotional side of things as well. So there are new areas that we're thinking of investing further in, communication, persuasion, collaboration, all things that still need that human element. And, what we'll be looking to kind of build on people, a lot of soft skills as well to help them function within the role. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my play in terms of the skill set that we want to feed into.
And we were talking earlier about, hey, would you be... Is someone good for a recruitment role or not? So, but I'm quite curious from an education standpoint, from what you see in the system, right? Because you train so many people. Can you already predict by the way that they are learning who would be a better recruiter than another, or that's not possible, or what would be the top 3 skills that would make a good recruiter?
So that's a really good
I'm not
question.
sure if you see it in the data, so I'm kind of curious.
No, it's a good question to pose. And I think as we look to embedding more AI into what we do, that will come out, because the AI, artificial intelligence, will be able to actually have a look on a deeper basis in terms of what people are accessing it. The engagement stat that we would use most likely is, who is striving ahead, who is the ultra high performer within a recruitment team by completing, not only necessarily completing certain missions, but by displaying habitual learning behaviors. They're typically the top performers. So we would have what we call a streak in the platform.
Okay.
And now, as I said, it doesn't really lead to who is the better recruiter when it comes to sourcing or job ads. Of course, they will have their badges and their trophy case in that regard. But the 2 behaviors that normally correlate, and managers will agree are high performers in the team, are people who consistently hit their goal of 30% or 30 minutes a week. That's 1% of the working week. They log in, they do their 30 minutes. They're building up that habitual learning behavior. And then also people who kind of create discussions underneath the missions as well. We call them flag wavers. Okay. They will go on to maybe the job advertising mission, and underneath it, they will share a link to one of the job ads that they created based on the training, and they'll ask their team for their feedback. And all of a sudden you have a TA team discussing different tactics that they've used when it comes to job advertising. So it's very easy for us to identify ultra high performers through different engagement statistics, perhaps as well people who go back and rewatch the training. So the beauty of online, they can actually go back and rewatch the training at any stage should they need to do so. But yeah, it's no advancements yet in terms of identifying who would be the best at doing what within the recruitment process. But definitely general engagement, the high performers are usually in correlation to people who do these specific things in the platform.
And I guess that's really, really nice, because you are taking recruiters from zero, right? Graduates who want to become recruiters, or people who have never done recruitment. And besides teaching them and educating them on recruitment, you're also educating them on how to learn, how to be consistent in learning, which is really nice on the platform. And I would like to talk about this very much, because that's one of the developments of the platforms of your platform that I was really, really a big fan, right? Because at the beginning, when you started, it was just a simple, normal online platform. But then slowly it developed into a platform where you could track your learning, where someone would be tracking if you're implementing what you're learning, not only you, but your manager. You are talking about sustaining and changing and moving towards productive behavior. So this is what I feel that differentiates you from other learning platforms, whether it's TA or any other subject, right? You can somehow track and understand, hey, am I using this in the right way? Am I putting the skill to use? Am I gaining anything in here? How am I developing? And you can track all of that. So I was kind of interested. It would be interesting to find out how you do this. How do you change and sustain productive behavior in the
Mm-hmm.
recruitment space, and then we can talk about it general. I think it would apply to any kind of field.
Yeah, like I guess when it comes to the recruitment space, obviously, and you'll speak to this, you have to have content that's relevant to people's success. Never expose them to anything that's not relevant. And that is one piece in terms of the customization. We, from the get-go, only set up people with access to things that make them successful within their role, which is super important. That they're, within e-learning, it's nearly a sin to expose someone to spending time to something that's not relevant to them.
Yeah, it can be a rabbit hole, right? I imagine that's why you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a lot, it's a lot more engaging for someone to know that they are receiving training for their specific role. And then the next form of training is how they progress into the next role within the organization as well. So that's the customizable piece. But, and I'm sure you would agree with this, we kind of took it a step back and actually looked at kind of like societal trends that how the modern learner learns, Ilya. So
Okay.
That's kind of where we based everything that we have on the platform is built on a scientific and societal approach to how we learn. And that's where we.
So how does that work? Can you talk about it a bit? I'm kind of curious.
Absolutely. Happy to. So as I mentioned, I'm sure you'll agree, today's kind of employees, we are overwhelmed at times. We are constantly bombarded with information. We are distracted by our phones and sometimes a little bit impatient as well. And when you look at these kind of three things, first of all, like flexibility in where and how we learn is becoming more increasingly important to us. People want to learn from their peers and managers as much as they do from experts, and they're taking more control into their own development and what they want to put time into. And that's why we kind of want to deliver their very own personal and professional development platform to their desks, to their mobiles, to their performance reviews. So some of the facts that we looked into, and we worked with Josh Burson's theory on meeting the modern learner. And you'll find yourself kind of nodding to some of this, in that some of the facts around it is, when we take being overwhelmed, I believe Burson came back and said 2 out of 3 knowledge workers in the industry, actually complain that they don't have enough time to do their job. So we took that into consideration, and like as a result of that, we recommend that managers apply and configure our learning platform to a 1% of the working week goal. So that's 30 minutes of learning. Like 1% is all that employees can focus on their training and development with the amount of other demands they have day to day. If it's not directly relevant to them, then and there, so people welcome that goal, the learners, right from the start. They constantly strive to hit it because it's not overly ambitious, and it's building that habitual learning behavior again.
It seems attainable, 30 minutes a week.
Right, exactly. And they feel like they're achieving something. It's not overwhelming, and their manager is giving them a kudos in return for logging in and hitting that goal. So the background process is that the managers are receiving notifications that their teams are logging in, they're getting these streaks, and they're rewarding them in turn. So that's something very light in terms of how we can take that fact that we feel overwhelmed with all the information we have to process and kind of make it accessible through 1% commitment every week. And I guess the next one was on the impatient side of things. People don't want to watch videos that are longer than 4 minutes anymore. It's just not something. And we nearly went down the line of 30 seconds when they introduced, remember those Vine videos? Mm-hmm. They were 30 seconds long. People's attention span is a little bit shorter than it used to be. So kind of from that, we introduced bite-sized videos. It was easier for them to consume and retain the concept or a theory that we delivered in every video. Once again, people weren't shying away from the overall learning experience again, because this was easy. It was informative, it was easy to consume, and they were ready to move on to the next mission quite fluidly. And I guess the last one is around getting distracted. So on average, I think it is a person will pick up their phone 9 times an hour. and we are very distracted humans, and ultimately we were like, okay, how do we stop this natural dive for them to go to their phone? So we managed to create an app that would develop, apologies, I'm gonna stop there. I lost my trail of thought. Apologies, I went to pick up my phone.
Yeah, just talking about picking up the phone, it gets you to pick up the phone.
I had my hand on it. Sorry.
This is just to show how everyone can get distracted. Yeah, I have to check how many times but I think I'm one of those that would pick up the phone quite a lot of times in 1 hour.
Right, I know, and it's anytime something is just not captivating you, or you're just distracted, you just want to pick it up just for the sake of, you're not even checking the time most of the time. But looking at how distracted people can get, how short our attention span is, we deliver the training on the mobile phone. Once again, it's 30 minutes of their time a week, bite-sized videos, and that's kind of how we start with the natural battle that any e-learning experience platform will face, is how do you deliver a platform that people will actually want to engage with?
Do you define in any way productive behavior? So when we talk about being productive on the platform, do you define it in any way? Do you have, or is it just a 30-minute goal? Or maybe let me rephrase you. What would be defined as success? Is it getting a badge? Is it finalizing the course? Is it doing the 30 minutes?
So I guess it's about all of those things. It's a combination of them. I think it's important to be the cheerleader as much as it is to be the headmaster when it comes to e-learning. And how we kind of do that is there are different kind of things to measure someone's productivity for every mission they complete. So if they finish job advertising, search basics, working with hiring managers, they'll get a badge and it will be put into their trophy case. And then when they come to a stage where they may finish maybe 5 or 6 missions on candidate experience, they'll get an official certification that they can apply to their certifications on LinkedIn. And then you would have then the combination of their streaks, they're hitting their goals, and then their manager in turn kind of rewarding that. So there are different kind of stages of engagement that would be seen as good engagement. Now we're going forward to kind of release an even more gamified experience with the platform. Johnny Campbell, our CEO, he got some inspiration from his son, who is a gaming fanatic. And from that, he sees how excited his son will get upon achieving points, upon it leveling up, all of these different things that we all know that we want, it's human to want to achieve and to be have them.
It's funny how this works. It's really funny. I always find it funny how this work, and they work for everyone. Just receiving a small badge, a small trophy, knowing that you've done good, something, even if it's small, it does help. So what are you planning to do in gamification?
So gamification comes kind of from different kind of engagement that you have with the platform. So it actually is a kind of good way to segue into this based on your question. From the very get-go, someone gets 50 points for logging in. Someone gets 50 points for downloading the mobile application. And then every time someone receives a badge, they'll get 10 points. Or at the start of their learning journey, their manager might configure for them what skills are prioritized. So for example, you may have a source of resources whose remit is going to be primarily technical recruitment. So their manager will prioritize their learning on recruiting tech talent. And for completing that mission, they'll get bonus points. So within that, you'll level up then in every stage. So as long as you engage, hit your streak, receive certain badges, send people kudos and receive kudos, you start to level up on the platform. But you start to level up in different areas as well. And this kind of plays to the point around how can you identify who is a good recruiter based on the learning that they're doing? Because, a badge is great. It is showing that someone is going through the training ultimately, but a combination of different missions completed that all kind of feed up into one skill set of a certain thing in terms of like higher cognitive skills, social emotional skills, bringing us back to those buckets. If you can see that one of your recruiters tends to have a keen focus on one of those areas, or maybe interviewing that they've completed all those missions, you can tell that that person is quite proficient in that particular area, or vice versa. Should you in a one-to-one performance management situation see that you have a recruiter who doesn't have any of these missions completed and is like failing to achieve in certain areas, it's kind of a case of pushing them in the right direction to be able to say, this is available, this is where we need to work on. Next week when we talk, it will be great to start seeing that the leveling up in that general area or that skill set.
What works best? I was always, maybe you've seen it in the data. Is it peer nudges, self nudges, or boss nudges that will push someone and engage someone with the platform more?
That's a really good question. We saw, so with one of our customers who had, I believe it was around 170 learners who were in APAC, all based all over APAC. The manager over the space of a month sent 841 kudos to the team.
Wow.
And the engagement increased monumentally within the team within that month. So there we saw a really effective case of top-down buy-in. You know, the leader was on top of how their team was doing. The team, they were decentralized as well. Their manager was based in San Francisco. So they never really met him either. So for decentralized teams, it really works well for managers to give that nudge. If you don't see someone day to day, but you can see that they're acknowledging your learning, it's really effective in that regard. I think management kudos goes down quite well, because you know that your time is not your time is, it's been acknowledged that you are developing yourself by your manager and that it's not going amiss. Peer-to-peer engagement generally works better on the leaderboards.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a lot of kind of friendly competition, shall we say, where people will check their leaderboards quite regularly to see how they place in comparison to their other colleagues. So that's one of the features that really plays a massive part in engagement when it comes to peer-to-peer kind of encouragement, shall we say. But yeah, we do find, you see, the Chrome extension that we have delivers instant notifications to everyone as well. So if anyone on your team completes a certain mission, you have a notification that encourages you to go access the learning as well, but you can also then engage with them by sending them the quick thumbs up too.
If I remember it well, and I don't think I'm wrong, based on your Chrome extension, right? You are also able to track when they get out of social talent, but they use LinkedIn or other tools online, and linking it to real life implementation of the learning. Or do I remember it incorrectly?
So no, you're not incorrect. We went through a beta phase of looking at how we could analyze different behaviors and changing behaviors based on someone's learning. So should they maybe complete diversity and inclusion training? Then when they go on to onto LinkedIn, we want to see if there's a correlation between them clicking on more female profiles than male. That was something that we ran for a short while, and we kind of put that on the back burner while we focused a little bit more on running more content campaigns. We started to reach out a little bit more in terms of, or expand our content. So that kind of took priority for a while for us as we started to build out hiring manager training as well. The analytics were wonderful, and they showed us some really good results in terms of the return on learning, as we call it. But because of the need to start to deliver training to help align hiring teams we made that our core focus for 2019. But that was something that we did have. We still have it in a certain degree, in that when you, for example, go to edit your LinkedIn profile, the Chrome extension will see that you're clicking on edit your LinkedIn profile, and it will pop up saying, hey, you want to find out how to do the best, create the best LinkedIn profile you can, click here to access your training. So that's the on-demand element. It's kind of like when they need it in the moment, we deliver the training right to their doorstep. That's the kind of functionality that the Chrome extension is really quite known for.
Because I know as a manager at that point, it was really important for me, because I would see when the team would use LinkedIn and how many profiles they would check and so on. So it stuck with me as, hey, this is nice, because you do get a bit of return on learning, rather than just sending them to training or giving them access to a tool and to videos and so on. But actually you can see, hey, are they implementing what they've learned? Do they have issues with it? And then you can track it as well.
Yeah, I know. And it was always really insightful in terms of what teams were doing and the changes in behavior over time. And, once we grow the development team out a little bit more, maybe it's something we'll reintroduce into the world, because it is useful. Absolutely. I think we just made that strategic decision over, will it be analytics or will it be more knowledge, more power in that kind of regard?
Tell me a bit about, and I think you mentioned it right at the beginning, but we didn't talk about it. I think the platform right now allows teams to post content, videos, podcasts, articles, and build a knowledge base for their team and for their organization. Right. And this is a new development and a new thing that I really like about the platform, right? Because you're not only going there for content that someone else is delivering, but you can build a knowledge base that everyone in your company can access. Is it new? When is it actually live? Because I think I've just seen a post on it somewhere on LinkedIn, and I'm not sure if it's beta or it's out there. How is it working?
You're absolutely right. Last week, Social Talent became the world's only customizable learning platform for hiring. And this happened because we launched a new feature called Add Any Content, because I guess we understood that learning is not a one-size-fits-all experience. We can provide you the holistic content you need to help you elevate your hiring process, but there are going to be nuances and other things that you're going to need your team to know about your brand, your culture, your best practices, security policies that we're not going to have information on. But, there's a beauty in having all of their learning in one place where you can track it, you can reward it, you can assess it. And so we launched Add Any Content last week, officially up for all of our current customers as well.
Is anyone using it yet? Because I guess it is quite fresh.
So we're using it.
Okay.
But we are at the moment running a campaign with all of our current customers to get their managers and leadership teams on board, so we can teach them how to utilize it and find out if they have any content right then and there to upload onto the platform. Because now I guess you can call us a bit of a hybrid. As mentioned earlier, we give you the LXP functionality, but we also give you the LMS that has kind of all you need for your enterprise hiring kind of solution. And you can upload anything from a podcast now to a YouTube video to a TED Talk. So it's not just necessarily, this is how you use your ATS. This is a TED Talk that I heard about building an inclusive culture within an organization, or this is a YouTube video on how to do a VLOOKUP on Excel, smaller things that always need attention, but don't get it because there's not an easy place to place them within a platform or learning.
So they would usually get lost, because I mean, this has always been an issue, not only in talent acquisition, but in R&D as well, right? Where there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of information. And how do you make sure that this knowledge is shared and everyone has it rather than just one person?
Exactly. And you send something through Slack or in an email and you're like, hey guys, watch this. And you don't know who's watching that. Someone's like, green tick, watched it, but that's not necessarily True. With the add any content, we allow leaders and managers to now become even more part of the social talent solution as well, and embedding it, because ultimately they become stakeholders. Then they're uploading their own content. They become more invested in seeing engagement because it's content that they're adding to the platform too. But the way that they would add it is that they have complete flexibility of adding whichever kind of document, as I mentioned, podcast, YouTube, PowerPoint presentation. They can determine where they want to place it. So if it maybe marketing team have launched a template for job advertising within an organization specific to a template that they want them to use, they place it in the top of the job advertising mission, so the team see that beforehand. But we also give you the ability to create assessments around the content that you're adding, so that you make sure that the team are looking at it and they're taking the key points from it too, because it's important to create that 360 learning experience around it. If you add any content onto the platform, you can create an assessment. When they complete it, they get a badge, you get a notification. You now know that learning cycle is complete.
Oh, that's actually really nice, because I imagine that you could put up their training for hiring managers, for example, in your specific processes and tools and so on. And you could, would it work for them? Should you give them access to the platform so they can learn and then get the badges themselves? Because as you said, it's a teamwork. It's not a one person's job.
Yeah, so we provide hiring manager training as well, Elia. It's a progression space, and we can speak to that point in a while. But I think you're absolutely right. There are different interviewing processes and protocol as well within organizations, or maybe you have a specific template that you might want people to use when it comes to the interviewing process. You can add any content to it and deliver it to certain departments or certain learning paths. So, for example, you could have your recruiters, HRBPs, and hiring managers on the platform. They would all be kind of defined by their roles. So then you could just launch new content then to the hiring managers based on who's meant to be the audience for that. And they get then a notification through their platform to let them know there's new material, through their mobile application to let them know that there's new material. So it's just kind of really making sure everything is accessible.
And they get notified. They know exactly. And would this be shareable across organizations, or they would belong to a particular organization? I know it's new, so maybe it's something you have in mind or thought about, but...
Hey, that's a great question. That's the first question I expect to hear from my customers. So does anyone else see the super private content that we're
I would actually like for them to see it, right? Because at some point there could be information that is useful to share with anyone. I mean, why not?
Yeah, like, do you mean from organization to organization or from team to team?
Like, I would imagine you would need a space where you'd have information just for your organization, for your team, right?
Right.
Because you talk about certain things that you do locally. You don't want to share with someone else. But if there's a nice article on whatever sourcing or whatever differentiation, which is anyway available on the web, could this be a resource that someone else would access and then take a course, and get all the badges based on that? So rather than you developing content, someone in another organization developing content. But that's just I'm sure it's new, so I'm not even sure if you have to think about it.
So that's really interesting because that's the sociable aspect of it as well, and we don't have that functionality right now, but in the future it's kind of creating a network, a community through the platform, and that's important, particularly within the TA community. I think there's a lot to share, and from being at the amount of conferences that I've been to as well, it's a very friendly place to be, and being able to do that through the kind of a universal platform would be great. We have a social aspect to it in that we will present to you what's the most watched platform this week from the community. So, if it's like Stacey's APAR, Recruit Like a Boss candidate experience, and it's got the most views that week, we'll show you that that's the most kind of popular content within the community this week. But Not yet on the add any content. I'll bring that to our product team.
This would make for a nice podcast after, just to follow up on the development. So why not?
Yeah.
By the way, any feedback that maybe you have from customers on why they would prefer this e-learning on the platform, right, on the social talent platform, versus going to normal education or versus going through in-house training? Because this can be trainings that, I don't know, the sales team can run negotiation with the recruitment, right? The best sourcer you have, or you can get someone from outside, they can run the training. So you can have this face-to-face interaction as well.
Yeah.
Any kind of, why do they really like the platform, and why do they want their people on the platform? Because you have so many.
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because we get that a lot, where we host hiring manager training with, the perfect example, we host hiring manager training with the wonderful John Blastalika. John also provides in-house training where he goes in and he has worked with the likes of Amazon, Google, Uber, all of the big names that we know. And he works with them in-house. But he also delivers all of his training to our platform. So we quite regularly have people coming through and saying, hey, why would I get access to your platform instead of bringing John Blastalika into the office? You know, and when you look at that, I think we, once again, kind of digging into the research that we do, you know, we touched off Josh Burson in terms of the modern learner. In this case, you know, we used to support our views on this by using the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I would love to hear about it.
I hadn't either, but it's actually fascinating and kind of scary. But ultimately, looking at this, we look at the kind of percentage of retention of information and the time elapsed time since the learning. All right. So in the moment of delivery, where we're getting the information in a face-to-face in-house training, we remember 100% of it, which is great. But even as little as an hour later, you'll only remember 44% of what you've learned. And then you look 31 days later in the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, and you only remember 21% of the learning that took place on that day. You know, and that's
a bit
is
scary.
The first point. It's kind of terrifying. Now, it depends as well. There are different people, you know, who will go away and make amazing notes. I know myself, I summarize everything, I revisit it, but ultimately that is the natural pattern of how we would forget based on these kind of in the moment live training sessions. So you know, with e-learning and its accessibility, you know, they can go back at any time and revisit that. Like on average, we see our learners revisit content 8 to 10 times to watch the videos. So, you know, that's helping with the aspect of forgetting it. It's helping them retain the information again. But also with online learning, you know, it's the concept of on demand. So, you know, just because someone follows their learning path and maybe they go through interviewing training, doesn't mean that they're necessarily interviewing at that time. They're just going through sequential learning. That's fine. Or maybe you get someone in-house and they're doing interviewing training, but someone's not in the moment at that time interviewing. Well, when it comes to e-learning, you know, and the bite-sized content, so they find themselves all of a sudden in front of a string of interviews, they go back and they just revisit and they rewatch it, you know, and they're not trying to find the notes that they took, you know, 6 to 8 weeks before on interviewing that they had in that session. And I guess that's kind of like a pertinent part as well of the in the moment when you really need it. But I think the most important part to me when it comes to what really distinguishes online learning versus in-house face-to-face learning is that, you know, with in-house training or getting experts in to deliver the training, you have them presenting their here and now expertise. Everything they know in that moment, they're presenting it well, because we have a lot of these kind of speakers and experts on our platform. They are amazingly knowledgeable in their specialized topics, but in 2 to 3 months, you know, there's a different best practice, a different way of working, a different piece of software that they have to update you on. And that's a piece of learning that's not available to you and your team anymore. And So with e-learning and the ability to curate and launch updated content and topics, the learner will consistently be enabled with new insights and skills as they're updated and created by the experts. And I think that's one of the standout moments for us as well in terms of what we do deliver there, because we have around 50 experts on the platform, because we're not just going to tell you to do something because social talent thinks it's how it should be done. We're going to get these experts in to kind of deliver their knowledge on these topics to you. Like, I think at one time we were compared to, the world's biggest recruitment conference in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
These people who you see.
That's a nice tagline.
I think so. Well, you just have these experts, these specialists coming and delivering their training and updating their training consistently through the learning experience. Sorry, long-winded way of answering your question, but I hope.
No. And what is also interesting to me, because I was looking at again your website and case studies and successes and all of that. How do you link the learning that people get on the platform to the success of their team, the company, and so on? Because I've seen things like 21% reduction in speed of hire, or various other KPIs that have been improved. Do you go back? Are organizations coming back and tell you? How do you keep track of it to really know, hey, have we been successful? Have they been successful as well, but through using us?
So this is the beauty of having a customer success department and a dedicated customer success manager to a lot of our accounts, where we host quarterly business reviews with our customers to look at, okay, from this, and what we try to do, and I'm not going to lie, we struggle with it at times, is when we sit down on the onboarding process where we say to our customers, okay, so here we are at the start of our relationship. I'm super excited to onboard you. Now, what are you going to measure to get your return on learning? And they're like, the badges, the certifications. And you're like, that's great. And I'm so glad that is a focus of yours. But like, what's the monetary value to you here, so that we can come back every quarter and look at that ROI, ROL, and know that we're doing well, that we're working in the right direction. And we have a wonderful team of customer success managers here who drive that conversation really well. And we're really getting places in terms of getting customers to open up and talking about their time to hire, their cost of hire, their agency spend. And we just try to get as many things on the table as we can, because not only do we want to measure it going forward so that you like anyone like yourself can go on and see the success that we have on the website, more importantly, so that we can help that customer really see the value in their investment as we go through their subscription term, or their time. So we have organizations that work with us very well. We have customers who we've been on the platform for 3, 5, 6 years, and we've got to that point now where we're open, we're discussing all of these metrics. And
how can you track incremental performance? Because I think at some point it's hard, or maybe I'm just thinking out loud. It's hard to know, hey, did I just get a very good recruiter on board, or is it because of social talent? What really drove my performance?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes something will happen organically within an organization, right? And it's how do you see the difference between just someone who's an overperformer and a champion, and someone who has become this way because of in correlation, with social talent training. It's done through kind of a user feedback as well.
Okay.
We would send feedback surveys on a quarterly basis as well to find out how people are getting on. Are they finding it the platform easy to engage with? What's their favorite type of, what's the best or most effective training they've done so far, what they want more of. And from that, we can just kind of see that there is a CSAT score, get a general CSAT score from our users. And we just hope by putting those two together that it does look, that be it, we may not directly affect in one situation, we may not directly affect a reduction in agency spend. They just got a superstar sourcer. We can still see at least that sourcer resourcer is happy and enabled in their role when it comes to being enabled with social talent.
Yeah. And then you can see how much they engage with the platform and how much they've learned from it. Because I imagine, indeed, you would indirectly help with their KPIs, right? You are not there directly to do the job, but through the education you provide, they get better.
Exactly. And, overall, I feel like a lot of our learners do appreciate the investment that the organizations are making in their development as well, which is keeping everyone happy, engaged, and feeling like they are set up for success in progressing into their next role within the organization. I mentioned earlier, we work with a lot of forward-thinking organizations, and we don't say that lightly, because a lot of our customers are there because they understand where the future of recruitment is going. They understand that it is so important to keep their top people engaged as well by developing and investing in their skills. And as I said, it just kind of has that correlation between happy learners, good performance, and so on and so forth.
So, going a bit on the overview, Social Talent has, I think, about 10 years of existence, right? So and you've been with them for half of that time. So any key learnings in the past years, anything that maybe you'd like to share with the world, other online e-learning platforms, whether they are in hiring or any other domain, that you say, hey, this is key?
Goodness, you put me on the spot there. When it comes to, I guess, Daniel Pink says for every employee, it's really important that we all have autonomy, mastery, and purpose to be happy within our job. And I think if you want to have the autonomy of learning whatever is available to you through the Recruitment Academy, you have the ability to go in and upskill in any areas you want to bring yourself in a mastery around interviewing, job advertising, which ultimately gives you a purpose because you are set up for success with your newfound capabilities when it comes to the training you've gone through. But it all starts with your mindset. You need to be invested. Ultimately, we will continue to build the platform that is best for our learners to help keep you guys happy and engaged. But it all does come back in your willingness and mindset when it comes to learning. And you know what? Even if there are people who are adverse to it, all we're asking for is 1% of the working week,
And plus you give the kudos and all the engagement tools are there, right? Plus the boss nudges.
Exactly. And Johnny Campbell is incredibly good looking, engaging on his videos. We just couldn't give you more. But yeah, I think it's because, when you leave college and you go into work, you learn, you kind of miss out on all of those learning behaviors. And it's not easy to get back into for some people, and that's absolutely fine. But it's all about building a habit. And, that 30-minute goal is set there for a reason. It is achievable. It is statistically the perfect amount of time for you to do your training. But hit it every week. Make it habitual, and know that you're achieving something from that. But that's something that I've just learned, and I have completed over 193 hours of training on the social talent platform. It's a lot.
That's quite a lot. Are you doing it for testing purposes or as a hiring manager?
A bit of everything. I try to watch a lot of our missions so that I can understand what our customers need in that regard. Because I myself have never been in TA yet. I think I could probably definitely try.
Yeah, why not?
But it's important to understand the content that we're delivering to our customers, because as I mentioned, it is a robust solution. We work with people to tailor and align the content because that's so important when it comes to online learning. So I need to really understand what it is
What's
that's
there
out there. Exactly. And the hiring manager training is brilliant.
I'm kind of curious to see it, because I've always felt that I've run a lot of hiring manager training myself, right? Again, you need to work in a team. They need to make decisions, and they need to base that decision on educated and they need to be knowledgeable, right? And they need to know how to do it, what kind of questions to ask, what to look for in the answers, and all of that. And then going back to the forgetting curve, right? They always, if they're not doing recruitment tomorrow, they go through the training. If they're not doing it tomorrow, you have to redo the training. So having a platform in which they can go and redo it by themselves and have a look and so on, and then you're just asking them, hey, did you do it? Do you have more questions? And all of that. That really helps, because I always felt that hiring manager training in recruitment it can be a waste at some point. It's a lot of a wasted time if they're not doing recruitment.
If they're not actively working with
actively, exactly.
Yeah, and you know, when you're working particularly in TA team, it is the center of your universe. You know, it is everything that you do and what you need to succeed. And unfortunately, sometimes then when you have other stakeholders in the hiring process who just aren't fulfilling their side of the agreement or adhering to their side of the process, it's massively frustrating, because it is such a very small percentage of their overall remit, you know.
Yes, it is, and it's not their job. So I can understand where they're coming from as well. So I can see both sides, but that's why at some point it's just frustrating. So it's good to have hiring manager training online.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why we expanded the platform a little bit, because, you know, when you first met Social Talent, we were like social sourcing using Facebook and Instagram. And then we were like, okay, let's expand that now to more strategic advanced sourcing. That's great. It's helping someone progress in their sourcer role. And then it was like, okay, let's build learning paths that accommodate all types of roles within a TA team so that everyone is enabled. And then we started to take a look back. Johnny went on a weekend away to Barcelona with I think it was 15 kind of global TA directors, and he brought them to Barcelona. I didn't get to go, but I got to be part of like the insights afterwards in terms of them talking about their overall recruitment processes, and he took them apart, and he actually noted how many steps are in the recruitment process, and I promise I have a point with this. But how many steps do you think are in the recruitment process?
I would like to say that I didn't read his post. Quite a lot, but I didn't imagine there are around 80.
80, yeah.
Yes.
So there's 80 steps, and you know, as you said,
because you always try to make it easy for hiring managers and for the teams, and you look at the big, maybe 7 to 10, right? But in between there are so many. So I can, reading his post, I didn't get to count afterwards, but when I said 80, bloody hell.
I know. Well, we're going to be announcing our new kind of approach to learning, bringing all the hiring team involved. And it's basically identifying these 80 steps and all of the stakeholders involved in each. So happy to share that with you, and perhaps get Johnny on another podcast to talk it through with you, which I think will be wonderful. But like what it does is, you know, at the end of the day, your hiring starts with the talent acquisition team. We're very aware of that. But hiring excellence starts with, you know, everyone being involved. True. And, you know, for your TA team to achieve what they need to achieve, there needs to be a look in the entire recruitment process. And as I mentioned, looking at who the stakeholders are, but having everyone aligned and understanding that it is a team sport, and that ultimately, you know, getting the hiring managers buy-in, and that they need someone on that seat, you know. But it's about making them stakeholders more so engaged with the process in itself.
Yeah, definitely. And then learning how to make the decision together as well. Because sometimes you tend to, as a recruiter, tend to say this person is the best, and the hiring manager comes in, oh, this person is the best. But very rarely, in very few organizations, they sit together at the same table and discuss why not, what do we need for the job, what do we need for the future, and really have this in-depth conversation. Because usually there's no time. We are lean, mean machines in organizations, and we try to do things very quickly, very efficiently.
Yep.
But the ROI of hiring the good person in the job is really high. So
Mm-hmm. Like misalignment is the root of all evil when it comes to hiring. It slows everything down. It increases frustrations. It takes away the possibility of having a seamless and effective process throughout the organization. And at the end of the day, no one is happy with that. Yet very few people are willing to do something about it, in that moment in time.
It is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we are about to embark on our journey around hiring excellence and how hiring is a team sport. So we're more than happy to kind of talk to that point as well in the future, because it is a pain point on a lot of people's desks at the moment, and I think it's going to start. Social talent, the disruptors that we are going to start to kind of build on that a lot more.
The name is social talent, right? It's not only about recruiting. So do you guys ever think about using your platform for anything else, for any other field? I mean, you're already doing a bit of marketing, but you do marketing for talent acquisition, for recruitment. You do a bit of negotiation. You have some soft skills in there. Do you think of expanding this? Because I can see how the kind of learning you're building and the follow-up and making sure there's change and there's sustained behavior and there are gamified elements to it and the boss is involved and the peers are involved and so on. I can see how this can be useful not only for talent acquisition, but for a lot of other fields.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you as well. It's kind of like we have the platform there. It's a case of why not expand, and we do slowly start to bring ourselves outwards. We're starting to enter into the world of talent management now as well. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like how you better embed new employees and create more value from the get-go. So we're starting to push out, but we never want to dilute the love and attention that we put into our TA training. Mm-hmm. We're just kind of, we are a much bigger company than we were 5 years ago, but still a capacity because there are so many new things trending, and there, hiring managers was our next step from, sourcing to TA teams to hiring managers to now talent management. And maybe slowly we'll start to eke into maybe some sales side of things as well, because we do have negotiation, we have business development training. But right now, I believe, the hiring side of things is still top priority because, before Johnny talked a lot to the war on jobs, and then it was war on talent, and now it's war on skills. So it does make sense for us to start expanding, because it's all about retaining people within the organization, internal mobility. So having the social talent solution on hand to be able to do that for other departments, super, would be absolutely fantastic and doable. But right now, our heart is where the hiring is.
Yeah, maybe this is a good podcast for all of those that are listening that are not in the HR field or talent acquisition field and thinking, hey, I am addressing, I don't know, the finance world or the marketing world or the sales world. This is how social talent is doing it. Maybe copy a bit of the good behaviors and copy a bit of the good parts of the platform, so anyone can benefit from this type of learning, which I feel is really fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said it from the beginning. I am a fan, and this is why I wanted to have you here, because I really feel you are at the forefront of online education. There are so many platforms where you can learn online, but to do it in a sustainable, productive way and track what you're doing and really understand where you are, that's kind of rare.
Make it fun, know.
Exactly.
Make it fun. There are too many mundane things. Yes. Look at the news. And so we try to gamify it and help you level up, help you talk to your colleagues, anything that can make learning a little bit more of a life experience.
So Naomi, I'm sure that most of the listeners would have heard about social talent, but if someone did not hear about social talent, they got interested in social talent, where would they find you?
They would find me on the other end of Naomi at socialtalent.com should they want to pop through an email. But other than that, come on to our website at socialtalent.com. There's a lot more resources there as well, should you want to dig deep into some of our blogs and ebooks. So all are welcome there. And just send an email should you want to speak to me directly. But otherwise, come and join the community.
I think also your YouTube channel is quite interesting.
Yes, actually, a note on that.
Mm-hmm.
Small snippets. That's a really good point. If you go onto Social Talent's YouTube channel, we actually release little bits, micro-sized videos, obviously, of training to our YouTube community as well. So you can start to actually benefit from the training and get a real feel for what the level of the content is as well.
Cool. Naomi, anything that I maybe forgot to ask you?
No, I think that was everything. I
Okay.
think it was pretty there. I really enjoyed speaking to this as well. As I mentioned when we were talking before, it's brought the, reading through all the things that we're doing and how we work with our community and how it is such a good community to be part of. It was really good to talk through all of this on the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time and doing this. And I know you have a very, very busy schedule, so thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure was all mine.